Hey there, everyone. Before we start the show, we here at Popcorn for Dinner want to give a big shout out to our good friend and illustrator, Kyle Kedzik, for helping us celebrate making it to 40 episodes with some brand new custom artwork, which is now up on all of our social media accounts. We love it. We hope you love it. And if you're looking for some new custom artwork for your business or project, you can look him up on Facebook at Kyle Kedzik, or even drop him a line at kylekedzik@gmail.com. That's KYLEKEDZUCH@gmail.com. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Popcorn for Dinner. This is Jeff.
And Kelly.
Unnecessary Sequels Month is going to continue here with a movie that has a little bit in common with last week's movie, Jaws 2, in that this is a sequel to a Spielberg movie without Spielberg.
Yeah.
And there is a theme in that they are terrible.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, a lot of people think that The Lost World Jurassic Park is an unnecessary sequel. We have already done that movie, though, so therefore it just makes sense to move on to the next one.
Right.
But also, you know, at least that one has a book that it was based on.
Right.
So it's like, at least there was something there to sort of justify its existence. But this one is something else. The movie, obviously, that we are talking about is the American science fiction adventure film Jurassic Park III. This one is such an outlier in these movies, even including the two new ones that came out, the Jurassic World movies that came out, because this one runs I think it was 93 minutes.
Yeah, something right around there.
92 minutes.
92.
According to Wikipedia. Like, that is insane for a Jurassic Park adventure movie. I read online, because I didn't really look at the reviews when it first came out, obviously. I was like 12. So I was just like, dinosaur movie, let's go.
Woo!
Yeah, exactly. And I still remember getting this movie for Christmas that year, like the 2001 Christmas. But Jurassic Park 3, it's like, we sort of touched on a concept of this when we were talking about The Lost World, in that, like, there's basically just two stories for Jurassic Park movies.
Yeah.
And it's either there's a park and things go awry, or there's the other island where the dinosaurs are all loose and you have to, like, do something. You have to, like, go get something. Essentially, that first movie was like first movie. Second movie was essentially like a go and rescue Julianne Moore movie. Perfectly good reason to go to a dinosaur island.
Yeah.
But this movie, like, the fact that it is basically just rescue movie again, really kills it.
Yeah.
Like, really brings it down. And like, it's so disheartening to watch Dr. Grant fall for it.
Yeah. I wasn't sure what exactly the whole, like, catch was gonna be. I mean, I guess I should have pieced it together just based on the context of, like, the opening of the movie.
Yeah, where the kid and the guy get lost essentially on the island paragliding or whatever the hell.
Yeah. I was partially distracted trying to remember what I knew that kid from.
Did you look it up?
I did. He is in The Sixth Sense. He's the, like, actor kid that, like, Haley Joel Osment goes to his birthday party.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't remember that movie well enough to recognize him, but okay.
Yeah.
I believe you.
Yeah. It was just something about him. I was like, that face is so distinctive. And it was somewhat similar time. Like, he was a little bit...
Yeah, it was only like 2 or 3 years later.
Yeah. So I was a little distracted by that. Also, I really like William H. Macy.
Right.
So I, like, didn't want to believe that he was, like, a bad guy, quote unquote. Like, really, there's no bad guy. It's still InGen.
Yeah.
right? They're always the like overarching bad guy just because they created
Yeah.
the dinosaurs. But I didn't want to believe that William H. Macy was behind something nefarious.
Yeah. It's a real bummer.
Yeah.
Like the whole, you kind of touch on something that's, I think, the biggest issue with this movie is that, you know, obviously the first movie, there's a very distinctive, like, sort of bad guy in terms of Nedry because he screws everything up and lets the dinosaurs out and blah, 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 and all that. Second movie is even more overt in who the bad guys are in terms of, like, it's this big old crew of hunting guys who hate dinosaurs and break their legs and they're mean and blah, blah, blah. And they're from InGen. So it's like they're so distinctly bad, you know, and InGen is behind it. So it's like you get this feel of like, okay, and those are the villains of this story.
Yeah.
And then you get this movie, which is so, it's just so weird. The way that it's like they have no true bad guy.
Yeah.
Because InGen hasn't been to that island in years,
Yeah.
and they had nothing to do with the kid getting stuck there.
Yeah.
And they didn't send anybody to the island, and they literally they do nothing in the movie. They're just this sort of in the background, like, concept of a bad guy. And the bad guys, for the most part, like, if you really want to call them that, are like maybe those three mercenary guys who, like, they're not really doing anything.
Yeah, they were hired to do a job, and so they're just doing their job. It just so happens to be like, you know,
part of the dumbest plan in history.
Yeah,
like it is a huge bummer, and it kind of wrecks. It wrecks the whole movie because William H. Macy and Téa Leoni are, like, essentially, just to, like, jump into it, are a couple who hire Alan Grant Alan Grant and his little buddy, Billy, hire them on the pretense of, like, we are going to fly very low near Isla Sorna to see dinosaurs, and we want you to be our guide because you're a dinosaur guy and you've seen them and blah, 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 whatever. And he waves, you know, a check in Alan's face, essentially, to be like, hey,
his Achilles heel.
Yeah, I wrote down into my notes, I was like, the real villain of this first Jurassic Park trilogy is how poorly funded paleontologists are. Because they just keep getting sucked into these situations because someone's like, oh, hey, is your dig getting defunded again?
Yeah.
Here's some money. And it sucks, especially because in this case, the money's not real either.
Yeah.
Like, at least John Hammond could back it up.
Yeah.
So that's a real bummer. But it's like they wave all this money in his face to be like, we're gonna fly real low, way lower than anybody else, which it's a bummer seeing Alan getting taken advantage of.
Yeah,
it's also a bummer to see him fall for this terrible ruse that William H. Macy and Téa Leoni cook up. I forget their name. It's like Paul and
Amanda?
Paul and Amanda Kirby. And their whole deal is essentially their son, Eric, who is at the beginning of the movie, paragliding with what's essentially his mom's boyfriend. And the boat that is pulling them as they're right next to the island, which I don't understand how that plane didn't see that boat. Like, they're like looking at the plane through binoculars like, oh, we better not get caught. And it's like, how is what else would be over here? Like, how could the plane not look down and be like, oh, shit, hey, someone's here who shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And then especially once they pull the fucking cord and the giant parachute thing comes out, and it's like, there's even a phone number on it. I don't know what that phone number was for, but someone's getting a call from the Costa Rican government after this. Like, it's so obvious, which is so silly. But it's like, what a weird thing. Like, the fact that is never explored. You know, like, what the fuck they were doing at the beginning of that movie, where it was like, so from the end of Lost World, like, the world knows these dinosaurs exist.
Right.
Because the T-Rex rampaged through San Diego. Yeah. And there was that, like, TV broadcast of them bringing them back to the island at the very, very end. So the world knows about it. I guess just through, like, research, you could figure out where Isla Sorna is. Seems like a dumb thing for them to have, like, publicized. Yeah. Like, the exact coordinates of the island. Like, you think they just leave that a mystery? Yeah. So it's just weird that some random ass guy could find it out and charter a plane down there and then another boat and then pay off these guys what must be thousands upon thousands of dollars to do this.
Yeah.
To get this close to an island that's restricted like that. I don't understand why they were there, why they knew about it, what they were expecting.
Yeah.
Like, so you're going to paraglide around this island with a video camera in the hopes of getting some like grainy footage of dinosaurs from like a mile and a half away?
Yeah.
Like, why are you wasting all this money to do this? None of it is touched on. None of it is explored. It doesn't matter. That guy Ben dies and they kind of make a joke about it. They kind of make a joke of it.
Yeah.
When his corpse lands in Leone's face and she just shrieks and like runs away and everything. And there's like a brief moment of like, oh, hey, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
And it totally undercuts the like pure terror of like, hey, that's your boyfriend's corpse that just swung down from that tree and you got tangled in the cables.
Yeah.
And it's like right in your face. It's like she would be shell shocked for the rest of that trip.
Oh yeah.
At least, if not the rest of her life. So the fact that he is so like that, it's just like nobody cares about this guy Ben.
Yeah.
He doesn't factor into the rest of the movie at all. Just accept that he brought this kid to this incredibly dangerous place completely illegally for little to no gain. Let's move on.
Yeah.
That's the setup to the movie. And most of that is through inference. It's not even told to us. It's just what you kind of have to figure out as you go.
What really should have been told to us that I don't think was, maybe there was something I missed. What the fuck happened to the guys on the boat?
Right? That was one of my first notes. The kid says, "What happened to them?" And I wrote, "Good question."
Yeah. I would like to know what happened to them. Did an animal get them?
I mean, you would have to assume, because like they go into that fog and then there's like tugging on the cable and then there's blood all over the boat. But it's like, which dinosaur was that?
Yeah.
They didn't, what?
Was it a dinosaur? Was it like a freak like shark attack? Like, I don't know.
Shark jumped up on the boats like all the fucking sharks in Jaws.
Yeah, exactly. You know.
Yeah, it's super goofy and it makes no sense. And it just dawned on me why IMDb listed a body count of 6. And it's because those first 2 guys in the boats, I completely forgot about the first 2 guys in the boats.
Yeah.
Eating it right at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And there is a definitive lack of body count for a movie that is essentially just like a roller coaster ride of a movie. Like there's barely a plot. It's really just like this kid is on the island. Fucking William H. Macy and Leone trick Alan into coming back to this island and not even coming back because he was never on this island.
Yeah.
And they make a reference to that. And I'm like, that doesn't help. Like it doesn't be, it's not like, oh, so it's clever. It's like, no, it's still Alan Grant going back to an island with dinosaurs for the worst of reasons because he seems dumb, falling for their stupid ploy.
Yeah.
Because that, like, the fact that, like, Grant mentions, he's like, you'll never fly low enough to see anything. And they both go like, no, but that's the cool thing. We have permission to do that. And Grant, he just throws, like, one little line. He just goes like, I find that hard to believe. And then they just move on as though everything's cool and it's been solved.
Well, because William H. Macy explains that, you know, he apparently supposedly has, you know, connections with the Costa Rican government.
Yeah, but it's like you would think that Grant would be like, this all sounds shady.
Yeah.
None of this sounds cool. I did see a theory online that Billy wanted to go to that island. Yeah. And was in on it with the Kirbys. Oh. Like that they came to him first. Because when he shows up at the camp, he's like, oh, hey there, Billy. Mr. Grant, I want to talk to you about something. And it's like, he already knows Billy? Yeah. And then when they're telling him, like, oh, I could write a whole bunch of numbers on this check, Dr. Grant. Like, we can get you there. And Billy's like, we'd love to. And, you know, he's jumping in all the time. And he's like, oh, yeah, totally. So there's like a theory that he was sort of orchestrating it and like agreeing to it for Dr. Grant and like cajoling him into it. Which it doesn't make too much sense to me because it's like, if you really think about it, it's like, what, did he think that he needed Alan to survive there? Because you'd think that he would just be like, I'll go. Yeah. I'll just go. We don't need to bring him. He's never going to agree to come anyway. Yeah. Just bring me. So that didn't make too much sense to me, but it was one of those things where it's like, yeah, but it is true that Billy kind of agrees for him. Yeah. That they're going to go and Grant just goes with it.
Yeah.
And it's like, none of this checks out. It's like, I get it that it's 2001 and all, and there's probably not that good of like a background check you can run on people online or anything, but it's like, Grant really didn't look up Kirby Industries or whatever the fuck he called it.
Yeah.
Or it's like, there's no such thing. He would have been able to find that out very quickly. Like, the fact that he does zero research on these people and agrees to get on a plane that's going to fly him over the dinosaur island. I'm sorry, man. Like, he was totally willing to, like, he was ready for that dig to go.
Yeah.
He was like, it's happening.
Yeah.
I've already resigned myself to it. So it's not even like he was like clawing and fighting and like begging, like, no, please, please give us just a few more weeks. And then like, oh, this devil on my shoulder is showing me all this money to go to this island. Oh, maybe I'll take that money. He was totally ready to be like, yeah, well, shit happens. This is just how the job goes.
Yeah.
And the fact that he gets tricked into it feels very, 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 very stupid. Did not like it. So they trick him to go to the island. And in like one of the first thing that really brings up like, how the fuck did these Kirbys even come up with this plan, let alone like get it into motion? Like, how were they competent enough to get it to the point of actually having like people on a plane ready to go? Because they're flying over the island and Dr. Grant's like, oh, holy shit, look at this. Look at all these dinosaurs. He literally says the words, I had forgotten. And I was like, no, you didn't. The whole beginning of this movie is you explaining that you haven't forgotten.
Yeah.
When he's over at Ellie's house and they're sitting there like, hey, we're having a good time and we're, you know, sitting here and talking like old friends. They do that little switcheroo where it's like you see Alan and then you see Ellie and you're like, oh, cool. And then Ellie's husband shows up and you're like, oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Alan. But they're sitting at the like dinner table and her husband, who she mentions works for the State Department, and that ties in to what is quite possibly the worst ending to a movie ever.
Oh my
which
God,
we will...
that just clicked.
Yeah,
okay.
it ties into what is possibly the worst ending to a movie that's ever happened, which we will get to.
Yeah.
But he leaves the table. He's like, you guys, you know, catch up or whatever. And he leaves. Literally, the moment he is gone, Alan gets super serious and he just goes like, do you remember the sounds they made, Ellie? And I was like, dude, chill out.
Yeah, right.
Especially when her first answer is like, I try to forget that. And then he keeps pressing on it. And it's like, Alan, read the room. Like, I know you both went through this. So it's like, hey, I'm just as you know, scarred from it as you are. Why can't we talk about it? But it's like, if she doesn't want to, like, what if someone came up and started talking to you about it and you don't want to? How would you feel if someone just kept prodding it?
Yeah.
And he brings up something that confused me so much. Like, I never thought about this in any of the times I'd seen this movie. Because I mentioned before we watched it, I was like, I could almost sit and do this without watching the movie again. Because I remember it so well. Because like it was one of the 3 Jurassic Park movies. And I watched them all a whole bunch. You know, I love those movies. Obviously, this one a little bit less so. But he brings up the whole thing about like, they were so smart and they could talk to each other. And we've been doing research about, you know, the vocalizations they can make. And there's that thing that Billy 3D prints in like the world's first 3D printer or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
When that happened, I was like, oh man, I never thought about that. Like as a kid, it was just like, whoa, crazy piece of technology. It's carving a thing. And then now it's like, oh, wait, no, that's just like a thing that happens now. That's just like a device that everyone knows about.
That was one of my notes. I was like, is this the first time a 3D printer's in a movie?
Like it's possible. At least like a realistic one. Because it's possible that they did one like in the 80s where it's like, look, it and it makes a thing.
Yeah.
But it's like, this is actually like, this is how it works. It does the layers and it carves it and whatever. So it's like, okay, that's pretty neat. But you know, the fucking voice box thing that Billy blows through and it makes the raptor noises and shit. And like everyone's astonished by this, including Grant. And I was like, they talked in the first movie.
Yeah.
Like all the time. Like the famous fucking moment in the kitchen when the one pops in and like sniffs around and then looks up and does that like noise. And then the other one shows up like, oh, hey, what's going on in here? It's like they were, this was always happening. Why is this movie making
Grant wasn't there for that.
Yeah, but I'm sure he talked to those kids. And it's like, oh man, those noises. But like either way though, it's like it was clear that they were super intelligent in that first movie. It was clear that they could like communicate with each other. It's ridiculous that this is looked at as some sort of like thing that no one knew about. Like,
Yeah.
oh, they're so smart and they talk. Because it's like they literally did all this before. They didn't even change it. Like, it was the same noises from the first movie. It's like, yeah, remember that noise from the first movie when they talk to each other?
Mm-hmm.
Why is this looked at as like some sort of crazy thing? I do not get it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like I was saying, the plan that the Kirbys have, like, once they're up in the air and Grant is pointing out all the dinosaurs,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, oh, if you look over here, there's a flock of gallimimus, and if you look over here, and then they're all talking like, hey, you see anything yet? Like, no, I don't see anything, blah, blah, blah. And Grant's like, what are you guys talking about?
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole bunch of brachiosaurs right there.
Yeah.
And then the fucking pilot's like, I see a landing strip. Do you want me to put her down? And fucking Kirby's like, no, not yet. We want to circle the whole island first. And Grant starts getting upset because he's like, put her down. What the fuck are you guys talking about?
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, hold on. Wait, calm down. And eventually that dude Cooper like knocks him out because he's getting crazy and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what the fuck were the Kirbys expecting?
Yeah.
Like, really? Like,
I don't know.
like, I guess that's what they were expecting?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they put Cooper in the back of the plane so that he could sneak up on Grant and like whack him or something. But it was just so like the fact that they seemed to think that it would just be like, yeah, and then we'll get there and we'll just put the plane down and maybe he'll complain a little bit, but it'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really? You think it's just going to be fine
Yeah.
to kidnap Dr. Grant and bring him to this fucking island? And it's the beginning of the Kirbys being the absolute worst.
Yeah. Because the head mercenary, Mr. Noodle, I don't remember what his character's name is. Udesky. He didn't know that they kidnapped Grant.
Yeah. Like, it wasn't even technically part of the plan.
Yeah.
So it's like they were lying to everybody
Mm-hmm.
about what they were doing. Also, I noticed that a lot of people in this movie lied about like who they were and what they did. Because like the Kirbys lied about who they were, and Paul specifically about like being this guy in charge of Kirby Enterprises or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then later, Kirby's talking to Udesky or something, and he's like, blah, blah, blah. He's like, I thought you were a mercenary. And he's like, I never said I was a mercenary. And it's like, is anybody what they say?
Yeah.
Like, is anybody what anyone assumes the other person is? So the point of this movie is like, don't assume, because you'll die on a dinosaur island.
Yeah.
I don't know. To call back to like what we were talking about right at the beginning about like InGen being the like bad guy,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not really being a bad guy. It's like, well, there really is. And it's the Kirbys.
Yeah.
And the huge mistake that the movie makes is by making them the reason that Grant gets stuck on the island, but also making them like the main emotional story of the movie.
Yeah.
Because every time it slows down and has the two of them like complaining and arguing like a divorced couple would,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I don't care. I hate them. Like,
Yeah.
I truly do not like these people because they are incredibly naive, incredibly stupid, and they just got 3 people killed, possibly more, to look for their son on this island.
Yeah. Who has been missing for 8 weeks.
That is the thing. That is quite possibly the stupidest part of this stupid movie. Like, I do not know why they chose to make it 8 weeks. That is ludicrous. The idea that some, like, what, 11, 12?
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't be older than that.
Yeah.
But, like, some 12-year-old kid lost on this island with no preparation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he didn't even have a backpack.
Yeah.
Like, he was completely unprepared to spend one night on this island.
Yeah.
And he survives for 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets a jar of Tyrannosaurus pee somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like another big thing. Like, Jurassic Park, obviously, I think is pretty much perfect. Lost World definitely has some iffy bits to it. This movie, I felt like it just relied so much on just like hackneyed, terrible screenwriting tropes and bullshit. Specifically that moment when
Mhm.
Grant picks up the fucking jar of pee and he's like, this is Tyrannosaurus pee?
Mm-hmm.
How did you get it? And the kid says, you don't want to know. That is just a fucking lazy screenwriter tactic to brush something aside, to like just to not explain
Yeah.
something that is absolutely inexplicable.
Yeah.
It's like, we just want the T-Rex pee joke. do not focus on where he's got the T-Rex pee. We just want it to be in there to be funny.
Yeah.
Much like later with the poop. When they're pulling the phone out of the pooper. It was like, remember in the first movie when there's that scene with the poop? Wasn't that your favorite part of the movie? Isn't that why you loved it? Here's more poop.
Yeah.
Like, it's so off base and so terrible and so, like, kiddie, Like, the first movie, as much as it's, like, built for kids in terms of, like, it's a fucking dinosaur park, it's still just a really fucking well-made movie.
Oh, yeah.
Really good. And this one, it feels like it was absolutely just for children. Like, see, poop joke. See, there's this magic fucking jungle kid who can survive forever, apparently eating Crunch bars for every day, or a jar of beans, or whatever the fuck Grant was eating.
Yeah.
Like, living in a water truck.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even understand how he understood what was going on around him. Like, he gets all crazy when he hears the compies coming, and he's like, oh, we better close up because the compies are coming. And I was like, one, how do you know they're called compies? Yeah. Like, how do you know to call them that? Because they called them that in the Lost World Jurassic Park? You didn't see that movie because it's just real life. And even if Ian Malcolm wrote a book about going to that island, because I know they mentioned that Ian wrote a couple books at one point in the story and everything. And it was like, even if he wrote a book about that experience, he didn't see any compies or hear anybody talk about them. So it's like, how does this kid know to call him that?
I don't know.
So dumb.
He's read every dinosaur book. I don't know.
But he doesn't know what a Spinosaurus is called. Do you remember that? Because he's like, it scares some of the smaller ones away, but it attracts one really big one with a fin. It's like, why don't you just say the Spinosaurus?
Yeah.
You're talking to Dr. Grant. He'll know what you mean. It's like, unless you don't know what it's called, at which point, how do you know what anything is called? Yeah. Like, if he was a dinosaur kid, like, oh, big time dinosaur, all about dinosaurs, include that in your story.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. Like, we know that fucking Tim is a dinosaur kid in the first movie because he won't shut the fuck up about it. So it's like, the fact that the only time we get with this kid prior to him being like Rambo is that one quick scene at the beginning where it's literally just him going like, oh no, what's happening? Oh no.
We're going to crash.
Oh no. Yeah. And that's all he does. And so it's like, I don't know who the fuck this kid is. I don't give a shit about him. If he's anything like his parents, he sucks. So what is this? What are we doing here, movie? Like, it
Nobody
must
cares.
be for kids. Like, it must be for kids. Like, little fucking... Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, I was literally, like, the exact age for this movie if he was around that age.
Yeah.
If he was, like, 12, that literally would have been, like, my age when that movie came out to go and see it. And I didn't see myself in that kid. I wasn't like, yeah, I would survive on that island. I'd be like, I'd be dead.
Yeah.
I'd accidentally walk into the long grass or something. Which actually was kind of a bummer that they didn't, like... That there was no, I mean, I know how much, sometimes it sucks when a sequel like retreads something from a previous movie, but it sucked that there was absolutely no like crossover or overlap with anything from Lost World.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like they didn't, discover any like InGen trucks. Like, what the fuck are these guys? Like the new trucks that were there, or, that campground that got destroyed by all the dinosaurs and stuff. Whereas like nothing, you wouldn't know this was the same island.
Yeah.
You'd be like, okay, so this is the third island. It's Jurassic Park 3. So there's a third island, right? It's like only if you know.
The other side of the island.
I guess. People have also speculated that the T-Rex that the Spinosaurus kills was the juvenile T-Rex from the Lost World, like grown.
Oh.
And obviously it's one of the funniest things. There was like a response from the like special effects team, and they were like, absolutely it is. We're making that up. I don't know. Because it's like, you really think about it, and it's like fans give so much more of a shit about that kind of stuff than the people making it. Or it's like, yeah, nobody was sitting there going like, oh, you know which T-Rex this is specifically?
Yeah.
It's that one from it was just like, we were gonna have him fight a T-Rex. Yeah. So there's a T-Rex here because T-Rexes live here. What are you expecting from us?
What more do you want?
Yeah, really. But that whole the Spinosaurus attack where it kills pretty much everybody who dies in this movie, and rolls that plane around, and all that, which was just like
so goofy.
It was goofy, and it wasn't necessarily scary. or like thrilling.
Mm-hmm.
And it took up a lot of this very short runtime. You know what I mean? Like it was way
Yeah.
too much of it. It was like, okay, we need to like get on to what the story of this movie is going to be, movie. So if you could wrap this whole plane thing up a little bit quicker, because it's like it's in the tree and it gets attacked by the Spinosaurus. Then it falls out of the tree and it gets attacked by the Spinosaurus. And then it rolls it across the ground and sticks its snout in it. And then they run away from it. And then they keep running away from it as it chases them through the field. And then they keep running away from it when it gets stuck between some trees. And then they come upon the dead body of some other dinosaur, and then the T-Rex pops its head up, and you're like, motherfuck, we just got done with a dinosaur chase and the T-Rex is here. And they run away from the T-Rex, and then the Spinosaurus and the T-Rex meet and have a fight. That is probably one of my least favorite scenes in any Jurassic Park thing ever. Even as much as I didn't like those two new Jurassic World ones, thought it was highly disrespectful and total bullshit to have that Spinosaurus kill the T-Rex.
Snap the neck of the T-Rex.
Yeah, like it was like, it's such a that like misguided executive level thinking of stuff where it's like, people have already seen T-Rexes. They're probably bored of T-Rexes. So we need something bigger and scarier than the T-Rex. And you know what? On top of that, we should have it beat the T-Rex so that you see how much cooler and better and scarier it is. And it's like, as much as the T-Rexes were sort of villains in those movies because they like ate people and shit, they were still kind of heroic. Like the first movie, it fucking kills the raptors that are coming after everybody. Like it is the fucking hero, and it roars triumphantly at the end. Yeah. And then the second one, it fucking kills the bad guy and it lets the baby finish him off. You know what I mean? Like, and they're sort of heroic and they're like trying to save it. Yeah. And send it back to the island. Like it's bad because it's a predator who eats people, but it's not like it's evil.
Yeah. It's just a big animal.
Yes. Yeah, so having something come in and murder it. Yeah. Or there's like 2 movies worth of goodwill and then this thing kills it and you're just like, fuck you. Yeah. Fuck you, Spinosaurus and movie by extension for doing that. Yeah. And it doesn't help that the Spinosaurus like has such little characterization, as weird as it is to say about like a dinosaur. But like at least, you know, in the first movie, they hint at it earlier on, you know, when Grant is talking to Hammond and everything, and he's like, well, we've clocked the T-Rex at 35 miles per hour. And he's like, you have a T-Rex? Like, oh my God, there's a T-Rex. And, you know, they put the goat there, and Grant's like, T-Rex doesn't want to be fed. He wants to hunt. And then it breaks out. You know what I mean? And it eats the lawyers. So you're kind of like, hey, he's not so bad. Yeah. You know, so it's like it has so much there's so much build up before you get to the T-Rex that you're like invested in it whenever it shows up. You're like, oh, here's that fucking T-Rex again. But with the Spinosaurus, it's literally just like, boom, baby, I'm here. And he just like comes tap dancing in and eating everybody. And you're just seeing him right there, and you're just like, oh, okay, I guess you're the monster now. Yeah. And you killed the T-Rex, so I kind of hate you. Yeah. And that's it. And there's that one brief moment when Billy and Grant are talking about it, trying to figure out what it is, which I thought was so stupid because they're both fucking paleontologists. Yeah. And the fact that Billy's like, baryonyx, you know, because of the snout. And Grant's like, not with that sail. And it's like, yeah, dummy. The thing that defines the Spinosaurus, the big sail. Like, it's so badly written. And just like has none of the magic or just flavor of the original movie. Yeah. And I would even take that second movie over it any day of the week. After the Spinosaurus attack and everything, they finally like get into what is going to be the plot of the movie for the rest of the movie, which is just like,
get to the coast.
Yeah, like, well, it's like, we need to find our kid. And Grant's like, good luck, I'm going to find the coast. And they get split up eventually because, of course. Yeah. And Grant finds the kid, and everyone else is looking for Grant and the kid. And, you know, it's just a whole bunch of nothing, man. Yeah. It's like, there's that one fucking sequence, and it's actually before they even get to the kid. But there's the sequence when they go into the InGen building. And it's full of like, just this whole movie is just full of like people doing stupid things or just stupid things happening that is like, was anybody paying attention at all? Or does everyone think that everybody else in the world is a complete fucking moron? Because when they find Ben's body and they find the camera and they're like, oh, the battery's dead. And Udesky is like, hold on, I have an idea. I'm going to unscrew my mag light to work this camera. Like, these cameras don't run on D-cell batteries. You can see the fucking charged battery sticking out of the back of the camcorder. It's like anyone who has ever used a camcorder in their life is like, it's not a boombox.
Yeah.
It doesn't take those kinds of batteries. But the movie's just like, just shut up. They don't even show you how they plan to. It's literally just him like, scricky, 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 opening his mag light. And then the next moment is them watching the video on the camera.
Yeah.
And it's like, what?
How?
And then when they get to that InGen compound and fucking they all look over at the phone on the desk.
Yeah.
And Taya Leone picks it up like, oh, what the hell? And listens to it. And it's like, yeah, guess what? It doesn't work. Oh my God. And then when they go to the vending machines and fucking Kirby walks up to it and he's like, these things take quarters. I got like $1.50 or something. And then Billy just kicks through the glass and takes shit. And it's like, okay, haha, funny joke, not even really. Yeah. But it's just like, why would he even assume for a second that these would be like functioning vending machines? Like, I get that they're supposed to be like, we don't really know what we got ourselves into and we need the dinosaur man to help us out.
Yeah.
But it's like, are you like just like functionally like incorrect? Like, does just something not work in either of your brains that leaves you to do such stupid things or just to assume such stupid things? And then right after that, they go into that like lab. And this is how like the stupid shit in this movie, you know, goes beyond even species, is when fucking Taya Leone is going down that row of things in like vats. And it's like, oh, there's some sort of like embryo and some other kind of embryo. And then there's just a raptor head just like sitting in it. And she kind of looks at it and then its eye moves. And then it turns out that it's a raptor behind the vat.
Yeah.
And it's like, movie, are you seriously trying to tell me that these raptors are so smart that they understand what those vats are, understand that they should like stand behind it to give the impression that they are inside of it, and like stay perfectly still so as to lure a person to lean their face near it in order to like jump out and attack them and miss.
Yeah.
Like, if you go to that much fucking trouble. Also, why are you setting up a trap like that if there aren't other raptors around? It's the only raptor in the building. And it pulls a ploy like that, apparently, instead of just being like, hey, how about I just fucking hide?
Yeah.
And then pop out from around a corner instead of trying to make myself look like an experiment in a tube. What?
Yeah.
What the fuck was that?
I don't know. I have just as many questions.
Yeah. But like that sequence ends with another one of those moments of like, yeah, Dr. Grant, you fucking knew this already, when the raptor is like on that door or on that like grated door thing trying to attack them. So they like swing the door the other way and they lock it in the corner and it's like, you know, stuck between the wall and the door. And then it like leans up and starts calling out. And Grant's like, he's calling for help. It's like, they called for help in the first movie. I don't know why he is
multiple times, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know why his mind is so blown by this. Like, he was there firsthand, and I know like right at the top of the movie. Actually, that's something that's a little confusing about it, just in general, because at the top of the movie, when he's at that like lecture and shit, and the one person is like, "What? You wouldn't want to go to one of those islands and like study these dinosaurs?" And he's like, "They're not even fucking dinosaurs. Like, dinosaurs lived 65 million years ago. What John Hammond and InGen made were theme park monsters.
Yeah,
like those are not dinosaurs." Which I was like, "Oh yeah," he kind of took the position I did when we watched The Lost World, where I was like, "Why are they studying these animals? Because they're not dinosaurs."
Yeah.
Like, that seems weird. And it's like, oh, yeah, Dr. Grant kind of feels the same way. It's like, these aren't dinosaurs. They're just sort of monsters that they built.
Yeah.
But then he's looking at them as confirmation of the studies he's doing on the real dinosaurs. And it's like, you just said that they're theme park monsters. You know that, like, it could fucking, like, spit acid at you like the fucking spitters do in the first movie, which is like, that probably wasn't a thing that the actual Dilophosaurus could do.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you probably know that, you know, but you understand that they were genetically modified. So it's like, I don't know, you can't have it both ways, Grant. You can't be like, these things are they're just man-made created monstrosities. Also, though, thank God they confirmed my suspicions about raptors.
Yeah.
Like, you know they're not raptors, though. God, man, this whole fucking movie, so full of stupid shit, man. I had almost forgotten about that dumbass moment with the phone in the Spinosaurus.
Oh, yeah.
When the kid hears the phone ringing and then they meet up on the two sides of the fence and they're like, but where's the phone? We don't have it.
Yeah. Oh.
Nash had it. Oh, there's a Spinosaurus standing there perfectly still. Nobody heard it show up.
Mm-hmm.
It's bigger than the T-Rex, but it never makes a
Yeah.
or anything like that. And it's just standing there. And the fact that you can hear the phone through it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is in that dinosaur's digestive tract.
Yeah. Like, does the dinosaur not have stomach acid?
Doesn't make any sense that it swallowed it. Doesn't make any sense that it works. Doesn't make any sense that they can hear it through the dinosaur.
Yeah.
And then comes, like, moments that are literally seconds apart where you're like, how did nobody sit back and just be like, this doesn't make any sense? Like, I was reading that they were literally, like, writing the script as they were making the movie. They started making the movie without a finished script.
That's
shows.
stupid.
Yeah, it shows greatly. But literally the moment after that, when they fucking chase him through the fence, like fucking, I don't even remember the fucking kid's name, Eric?
Yeah.
Yeah, when Eric and Grant get through that little hole in the fence to join up with the rest of the people, and the Spinosaurus can't get through, and it's like, oh, thank goodness we're safe. And then all of a sudden the Spinosaurus just bursts through the giant security fence.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, okay. Like you're fine with that because it's like, okay, whatever, that it's strong enough to do that. Who cares? Like,
it's not electrified anymore. Like,
so
they were
like,
just touching it and they're fine. So
yeah, so it's like, we don't know how much strength this Spinosaurus has. It's pretty huge. It could probably do that. But then they immediately run into that building and just close a door and lock it behind them, and the Spinosaurus can't get through.
Yeah.
It's like literal seconds.
Yeah.
Like 10 to 15 seconds between bursting through a giant security fence and failing to open a door.
Yeah. Failing to even just like bust down the entire door frame.
Yeah, or take just that whole little hut that they go into. Like, why can't it just like crush it with its giant arm? Like, because it has like big arms, not like the T-Rex that has like little baby arms. Spinosaurus actually has like some arms. Like, it can't just like claw and bust it up, but it's like they don't show it.
Yeah.
The door just closes and then it goes like, and then apparently it just walks away.
Yeah.
And then comes the aviary sequence with the pterodactyls and stuff.
The only part of the movie that made me flinch at all, and I'm so pissed at myself for flinching because I knew it was gonna happen. I was like, oh yeah, here it comes. Oh god.
Which moment?
The freaking like stairs busting out below Grant's foot.
Oh, when he walks up to it and everything.
Not even a scary thing. It's
yeah.
like something that happens all the time in movies. But for whatever reason, that is the only thing in this movie that made me flinch at all.
I mean, that whole sequence is easily the best part of the movie. Like, it's the most atmospheric because it's like all foggy and everything. It eventually turns pretty stupid.
Yeah.
But like, just the fact that it's like, okay, like a different type of dinosaur, like not just being attacked by a raptor or a T-Rex.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah, finally. It's like a spooky atmospheric kind of place. It's got a little bit of the danger inherent to like the fact that they're like way up in the air and everything's all rickety and you might fall off of it or something. You know? Of course, every time anybody falls off of it, it's just straight into a nice big giant pool of water.
Right.
It's never like, oh god, rocks. They just land directly into the pool and it's perfect for them. But like it's actually fairly spooky the way that those, and like the fact that they're kind of like, they almost feel even less like they feel more emotionless than raptors and T-Rexes. I don't know what it is about them. It might just be my own thing about pterodactyls and like big bird looking things like that. But it really feels like they're just like, we don't fucking give a fuck.
Yeah.
We're just going to peck you. We're going to drag you over here. We're going to drop you to our baby things. Like, it's like, you're fucking with me, so I'm going to fuck back with you. It's like, they're not hunting the humans.
Yeah.
Really. They're just like, oh, we got the kid. And there's all these fucking assholes in our shit. So let's just like creep on them.
Yeah.
Swoop on them.
Yeah. Get the fuck out of here. It may be more of a like protective than like hunter mode. Like they're trying to, you know, this is their territory, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
But
Because it's like raptors, it seems like raptors and Rexes, they're just going to eat you. But these things, it feels like they're just like, we just don't like you.
Yeah.
That's what it really feels like. And it leads to...
I thought Billy was such a dick at first.
Oh, with the eggs?
Well, okay, yeah. That they didn't show him taking the egg earlier, and he said that he was just taking pictures.
Yeah.
I was like, I wrote in my notes, I'm like, he fucker took an egg. Like, at least one.
That's fun. Like, I like that you picked up on that. Because obviously I knew ahead of time, like, yep, he was stealing eggs.
Yeah.
But I like that it was like...
Come on. Just the way, like, he's so intrigued by them, and then he was so, like, kind of dismissive. Like, he was trying to come up with an excuse. Like, he fucking took an egg.
Yeah.
Come on. Did you not learn anything from The Lost World? Like, obviously you haven't seen the movie.
Yeah.
But don't take babies from moms. Like, that's the moral of the story for dinosaurs.
Pretty much. I mean, the weird thing about it, too, is like, so that explains why there's raptors chasing after them for like the whole movie. Like, why they keep showing up is because it's like, hey, you fuckers took our eggs. We want our eggs back.
Yeah.
The thing that doesn't make any sense is the Spinosaurus chasing them through the whole island. Because it's like, what the fuck does it want?
Yeah.
Why is it still around them? Because it's like, to get from that like cliff top where they entered the aviary, and then they go down the aviary and come out the bottom in a boat.
Yeah.
And on that river, on that boat, the Spinosaurus eventually finds them again.
Maybe it's a different Spinosaurus.
I mean, if it is, that's dumb.
Yeah. I mean,
that they don't explain that.
Either way, it's dumb.
Really, it is. But it is just a case of like, what the fuck is that Spinosaurus want? Why is he so mad? Like the Rexes in Lost World made sense. So it's like, you took our baby and now you're covered in its blood. Yeah. And we could smell that blood and we're going to come get you.
Yeah.
But this Spinosaurus really just feels like it's just like, I'm bored. Something new happened today.
Yeah.
A plane showed up. I ate like a king. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to go fucking get some more of these. Maybe he just really loves human meat.
Maybe.
After he ate the first couple dudes and was like, oh my God, I got to get me some more of that.
That's amazing.
But yeah, I mean, the whole Billy taking the eggs and putting them in his lucky pack, which I was like, Sarah had a lucky pack in the Lost World. Why are you reusing the lucky pack trope?
Come on.
But it did have, there was that one great line from Grant though about that when Billy's telling the story about his lucky pack and he's like, I was paragliding somewhere and this updraft just took me and wham right into the wall. And Grant's like, oh, that sounds lucky.
Yeah.
But it was just so strange. Like, Grant finds the bag.
Right.
And he takes it when they get split up.
Right.
And then when they meet back up at the fence, Billy's like, oh shit, you got my bag.
Yeah.
And Grant's like, yeah, your lucky bag. And Billy's like, yeah, I'll take that back. And Grant kind of ignores it, almost like he didn't hear it.
Yeah.
And he's just like, got to find a way through this fence. And Billy just kind of like lets it go or whatever.
Yeah. Well,
and then they get
the Spinosaurus shows up again, so they have to run away.
Yeah. So then they get to the aviary, and Billy's like, hey, can I get that bag? You know, my bag? And it's like, yeah, he gets a little suspicious about it. Because after Grant, but okay, here's the thing though. It's like Billy gets suspicious about it, but the only reason he gets suspicious about it is because Grant is for no reason being a total weirdo about it. Like, it's Billy's bag. And now they are like in a safe place where everyone can chill. And Billy's like, hey, can I get my bag back? And Grant's like, I got it. And it's like, just give him his bag. What are you doing? Why are you being so fucking weird about his, like, it's his bag. Yeah. Even if it was like, just like, if it was just like a random bag, then I could see it being like, I got it. Yeah. It's cool. I don't need to give it, like, I can hold on to it. Yeah. But it's like, can I just have my bag back, please, Dr. Grant? Like, even if there weren't any eggs in it, would Grant be that much of a weirdo about it? Like, oh, hey, could I get my bag back? Like, no, I got it, Billy. Like, my camera's in there. I've got it, Billy. What? Why are you being weird about this? Yeah. Like, why are you holding my bag hostage? It was just such weird character stuff. Yeah. Just to lead to Grant opening it and seeing that Billy took eggs and getting mad at him and throwing that fucking heinous line to him. Yeah. Well, you know better than the people that built this place.
Fuck off with that shit.
Yeah, it's like, obviously he was dumb, and I know he like goes back on it a little bit later. He's like, he's just, but I love that Grant's only thing, he's like, Billy was just young. It's like, That's it?
Yeah.
That's all. That's the only thing you can think of? It wasn't like he was too adventurous for his own good
Yeah.
or, something else other than just he was young.
Yep.
Like, that's a beautiful eulogy, Alan. Because you
job.
think he's dead.
Yeah.
That moment was really harrowing. I remember when I first saw it, when Billy gets fucking like seemingly pecked to death in the river by the pterodactyls, and then that one just swoops its head around and like totally fucking eye fucks the camera. Like, what do you want?
Yeah.
That was spooky, especially because it's clearly a real thing, like clearly an animatronic. So it doesn't feel so much like a cartoon or a video game character looking at the camera. It really does feel like some animal that's just like, oh, hey, you want some of this?
Yeah.
Like, no, please. No, thank you. I don't want any of that.
Just prior to that, though, is when I thought Billy was a dick, because he unpacks the parachute, paraglider, whatever thing. And I was like, is he just going to bail?
Oh.
It's like, what a
That's so funny.
I was like, because he, I wasn't sure on his character. He took fucking raptor eggs. I was like, is he literally just going to bail and like glide down the river?
That'd be amazing.
And then like right after that, I'm like, oh, I guess he isn't a dick. Exact opposite.
Trying to save the kid.
All right.
Oh, well. Something I did find very funny is just the fact that like Eric survived for like 8 weeks on this island. All by himself.
Like without a scratch.
Totally fine. He's hooked up with his parents again for a half an hour, abducted by pterodactyls, almost eaten by their babies.
Yeah.
Like, these parents are bad for him.
Yeah, clearly.
People are the worst. And so after that, they got the boat. They're going down the river. They're trying to find the coast.
That was one time that I was like, see, that's an appropriate time for the theme song, as they're just like slowly coasting down the river and there's like herds of like different dinosaurs. Like,
totally.
Like that was a nice little sequence.
And even like that was the most like Jurassic Park feeling moment of the whole movie, when Grant sits down and has that little talk with Eric and everything. He's like, I've always said there's two kinds of boys, those who want to be astronomers and those who want to be astronauts. And that whole scene and everything, and Sam Neill's performance felt so much like the old Alan Grant. Like, it was so good. And I was like, this is good. This is a chunk of a movie that I'd be like, seems like it should be from a good movie.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that it's not.
Yeah.
Something that's hysterical, though, is the end of that scene. Like, he gives that whole speech about astronomers versus astronauts, and he's doing it to explain, like, Billy.
Yeah.
He's like, I am more like the astronomer who wants to watch it from afar.
Yeah.
Billy was more like an astronaut. He wanted to be there. He wanted to touch it and see it and all that kind of stuff. Like, and then they turn, and the kid looks up, and he's like, Dr. Grant, look. And then that moment happens with the theme music and the herd of dinosaurs, and everything feels all good. Cuts back to the kid and Grant, and he turns to Dr. Grant and he just says, you know what, Dr. Grant? Billy was right. I just wrote, about what?
Yeah.
He didn't say anything. He didn't make any declarations of anything. Like, what was he? It doesn't even harken back to their conversation about astronauts and astronomers.
Yeah, unless it's like he was right about wanting to be here.
Yeah, because I think all those people who died would disagree, including Billy, as far as they know at this point. They're pretty certain he's dead. So the idea that it's like Billy was right. Well, I mean, he's dead. What did I mean? Like, I don't even recall anymore. So then comes the night scene on the river. The Spinosaurus shows up.
Yeah.
And it attacks them, and there's gas in the water, and there's a flare, so there's fire, and there's a crane, and fucking William H. Macy climbs it, and he's going like, ah, to the Spinosaurus. All of it is just such terrible nonsense.
Yeah.
It's just noise and like roaring, and then it's doing those cutbacks to Ellie's kid, because Grant calls her on the satellite phone.
Yeah.
And Charlie picks it up, and he's sitting there watching Barney, and he keeps cutting back and forth from Barney to the Spinosaurus to Barney to the Spinosaurus, and I was like, this is low.
Yeah.
This is so cheesy. Like, this is like a Zucker parody movie. Like, this is not something that would be like, maybe a tiny snip of that is present in Jurassic Park somewhere. Like, I'm sure there's somewhere where there's a funny juxtaposition between a dinosaur and something, or, something like that where it's got a little bit, but not in the final huge action set piece.
Yeah.
Why are there Barney jokes in the middle of your fucking Spinosaurus attack? And the worst part of it is, though, is that at that point in the movie, since there are so few people in the movie to begin with, and now we are down to the family and Dr. Grant, it's like, okay, so nothing's gonna happen here.
Yeah.
Like, even though Paul falls off the fucking thing, he's obviously fine because he's not going to come to this island and reunite with his wife and like fall back in love with her just to die at the hands of the Spinosaurus, who doesn't even, he just runs away because it's like he's tired of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the fire comes up and it like spooks him, but then he keeps attacking for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then eventually he's just like, you know what? I'm bored.
Yeah.
And he just wanders off, never to be seen again.
Yeah. This fire's hot. I'm leaving.
Like, it's such a lackluster set piece there. And so you feel, especially because of how short the movie is, you're like, okay, well, that's not the end of the movie then.
Yeah.
So something else must be coming. So then they're walking after the Spinosaurus attack, and they're like, what is that noise? Holy fuck, it's the ocean. And they start running, and then they get surrounded by raptors. And you're like, okay, so this is going to be like a raptor ending. But again, nobody here is going to bite it, especially after they just did the Paul fake out.
Yeah.
It's like, kid's not going to die. Leone's not going to die. Paul clearly isn't going to die. Dr. Grant is not going to die.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be like, how will these raptors not kill them?
Yeah.
And it's just because they get their eggs back. And that is it. And then I love the way that they focus on, because Grant pulls the eggs out of Billy's bag. And he looks down into it, and in there is that like raptor resonating chamber. And the way that they show it makes it seem like it's gonna be a thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh fuck, that's the ticket. This will save the day. And Grant pulls it out and starts blowing through it, and all it does is piss them off.
Yeah.
Like, not to the point of them just like going berserker and eating everybody, but it's literally they're just like, what the fuck? Shut up.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck. What is he saying? Shut up. God damn it. And they're just like, they look mad, and they're all looking at each other like, what the fuck is going on? This is bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what you think you're saying to me, but fuck you, man. And they take their eggs and they just leave.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, he changed it. Like, he like did like one or two longer blows, and then he like changed to like a different
yeah, he
sort
did like
of...
a little whistling, like
Yeah.
something like that. And they were like, what the fuck?
All right.
That is it.
This guy is fucked up.
Yeah, really. It'd be like someone just walking up to you screaming gibberish, and you're just like, whoa.
Okay.
Oh, well, we are leaving.
Yeah.
We'll leave you to whatever the fuck you're doing here, but we are out of here.
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess it kind of saved the day.
Yeah.
But it really seemed more like the helicopter noise saved the day.
Yeah.
That it scared the raptors off, so they took their eggs and they left. It really, all it seemed like Grant did was annoy them.
Yeah.
And so I just need to know what your thoughts were when they run up to the beach and there's just a man in a suit with a megaphone standing on the beach. What did you think was happening?
I had no fucking clue. I was like, where the fuck did this guy come from? I see no boat, no plane, nothing.
Yeah.
Like, who is this guy? How does he know that people are here? Like, obviously, Grant called Ellie.
But all he said was, the river!
Yeah, and she somehow knew that meant that he was...
He was on Isla Sorna, in a specific river on Isla Sorna.
Trapped in a cage being taunted by a Spinosaurus.
Yeah. It's the worst ending I think I may have ever seen in a movie.
I
like,
was
legitimately.
so confused.
Like, not just that, because like that's confusing enough of just like, the fuck is this dude? Just a dude in a suit? He's got a megaphone? Like, is that the director? What is going on? Like,
yeah.
What the fuck is this? And then all of a sudden, just a whole bunch of military boats roll up, and the kid's like, holy shit, she sent the Navy and the Marines. And Grant just goes like, thank God, Ellie. And that is it.
Yeah.
They just get on a helicopter. Billy's alive.
Yeah.
There's the one fucking line in this movie that like made me smile, which was I saved your hat.
Yeah.
When he like hands it over to him. I was like, that was not worth the past 90 minutes, but it was like the one good thing in it. And then they just leave, and there's pterodactyls that escaped the island that are never reckoned with ever again.
Yeah, so there's now just wild pterodactyls.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's canon in Jurassic World.
I mean, I assume it must be, but it's like, I don't know, maybe they just shot him down or something like that.
I don't know.
But it's just so ridiculous that it's like, that is the end of the movie. It's just literally, it's like Ellie, apparently using her State Department husband, sent the Marines and the Navy in how many hours? Because it was just dark, and then they were walking in the morning, and then they were there.
Yeah. Maybe,
and it's like
maybe 6 hours.
Maybe.
How?
Who gave the fucking clearance for that? Like the United States embassy or whatever the fuck. Earlier, Paul says that when it was like, we need to save our son, he's lost on that island, that apparently the government was just like, tough shit.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
So what makes this different? Because it was Ellie? Or because it was her husband who asked for it nicely? He was in the State Department. That doesn't mean he's in charge of the military.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I literally just said it, but it is quite possibly the worst ending to a movie I've ever seen.
I mean, I may, if I sat and racked my brain for, an hour, I might be able to come up with a movie or two that have equally or worse endings, but it would take a lot of thinking.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And it's truly it really cements it as
completely unnecessary.
Completely unnecessary in every single way. I truly don't even know if there's anything more I could possibly say about this movie. So I think we are just gonna have to wrap it up this week for Popcorn for Dinner. This is Jeff
and Kelly.
I rescued your hat.